Oh, hello. How we doing, Michael?
We doing good. It's been a long day.
Excellent.
No axe.
Dude, we both had long days. I didn't think I was going to have a long day. I was going to try and play some golf today, but that did not happen. But that's okay.
That's all right.
It was just too much to catch up on. Too many videos.
Bro.
Too much Chris Mellon. It was a lot, but I loved it. Michael, first of all, let's say hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UFOs and UAPs. My name's Luis Jimenez. The gentleman to my left would be Mr. Michael Mataluni. Today we're going to be talking about the first episode of Season 2 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. We've got UFO Jane in the house.
Oh, yeah.
What? She's going to be joining us here in a second to talk about the show. We've got a bunch of news, a bunch of things that came out, but we're probably going to end up pushing them to Friday because a lot of people just haven't been able to catch up yet. You know, they've got jobs. Real jobs. You know? I'm just sitting over here like an idiot producing a UFO show.
Hey, man, it's only because every single day somebody makes it possible for you not to have to drive Uber, and I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I just, like, the second I popped in here, I'm looking at these chats, and I'm, like, cracking up already. Yeah. This is going to be fun.
Dude,
Travis just cracked me up. I feel uncomfortable digging into Skinwalker Ranch today.
Oh, man, we're going to have a blast. So, Jack Ryan, I don't know. 15 seconds and I'm unsubscribing. Oh, my God. What's going on with Jack Ryan? Booyah. He is a dragon here. I don't know if Jack Ryan is the dragon, but if you are, dude, welcome to the show. God, that would be awesome if you were. Alien Girl's here. Donald's here. Rodrigo, of course, is here. So, all right. Let's do this, shall we, Michael? Thank you guys all so much for being here. I cannot appreciate you enough. Let's without further ado, let's bring on our guest for today, right?
Let's do it.
She's got a really fun channel on YouTube. She's one of the people that I kept hearing to bring to the big phone home. They're like, "Oh, you need more women? Get UFO Jane." I'm like, great, awesome, let's do it. And then I reached out and she was just unavailable. She couldn't come. She was super bummed. So I was like, well, don't worry about it. You're going to be able to come on the show all the time. So here she is for the very first time. UFO Jane, hi.
I love it. Applause.
Yeah. It's almost a real production here, Jane.
Oh, this is an awesome production. I know
almost a real production.
I told you already, but congratulations on the big phone home. Yes, I took it very personally that you guys did this event the week I go on vacation. Basically, disclosure decided to almost happen the moment I decided to, stop thinking about it. But it was congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It hasn't been the same since. So UFO Twitter changed.
Yeah, no, it definitely has. A lot of things I feel like have changed. The whole discussion on this topic I feel like has moved forward 15 yards in in a 1st and 10 play. Like, you know, we went beyond the 10 yards. We got an extra 5 here in the last, especially week and a half. It's been insane, the movement on this topic. I mean, today we had Joe Rogan interview Christopher Mellon, and it was a 3-hour discussion. Now, I don't think we're still going over, and we're going to go over a couple of quotes because Michael hasn't gotten over a chance to see it. And we're going to just talk about the quotes real quick, and then we're going to go on to our review of Skinwalker Ranch, which, by the way, like I said, we're doing the first review. Before we do that, of course, like the channel, subscribe, share, check out the Patreon, probably the best Patreon in the world, I think, hands down. Everybody gets to get involved in the Patreon, even if you don't have $1. So check it out. Michael, is there anything else you'd like to add for the day?
I'm just excited to dig into Skinwalker Ranch here because this is my first episode. It was my first episode, and I'm coming in hot and critical with you guys. So just here we go.
I have a feeling you are. Okay, so let's go over Christopher Mellon's couple tweets here that was really cool. I'm trying to remember. Jay from Project Unity put these out earlier today, and I thought they were very helpful, so I thought I'd bring them on the show. So the first is Joe Rogan asked Christopher Mellon, what would you do if you were president? Which was a killer question. And he answers, good question. So I would want to know about the Department of Energy. I would want to know all of their special programs as one thing. I'd want to have a sit down with the director of operations for the CIA. I'd want to review the WAVE special access programs, Section 119 of Title 10 that most of Congress is exempted from, reporting to. It's a very high category of DOD, Department of Defense programs. So, Mikey, based off of that answer, what do you? The thing that I found very interesting is he talked a lot about the Department of Energy in this interview, which I was like, that's kind of the first time I'm really hearing that specific department have anything to do with this topic. Jane, have you guys heard anything about this connection?
I haven't heard Department of Energy brought up, but what's interesting is this 180-day countdown to the June UFO report and disclosure doesn't include the Department of Energy. So it's Office of Naval Intelligence, FBI, and ATIP. And that's a really, really small group of people in the grand scheme of ufology. So I think Christopher Mellon's on to where the actual answers lie versus the reveal we'll get in June. So that would be my take on that.
Yeah, I have a thought. It's interesting that he brought up the Department of Energy because when I first started studying this topic and I was kind of following what Tim McMillan had written in Popular Mechanics, and when I was digging deeper into a lot of this stuff, what I didn't realize was the Department of Energy had a huge hand in this research back in the day. And so the Department of Energy was not only, I believe the majority of the Department of Energy was subcontracted through the government. And it wasn't back in the 40s, it wasn't they used a lot of subcontractors, and that's where they believe a lot of the missing materials went. So the fact that he's still focusing on the Department of Energy here, 80 years later is interesting. But
it's the first thing out of the gate he puts on the list. Yeah. The Department of Energy, number one.
Yeah.
FOIA request Department of Energy.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, there you go, Jane. Oh, I love it. Oh my God, please let Jane be on this show more. Okay. So Max Moskovich says, did anyone notice Mellon's right hand dance? We're going to talk about this on Friday because Michael has not seen the interview. So I don't know if you noticed this, Jane, but at the beginning of the interview, Christopher Mellon's right hand that was on the pen was shaking. Like it was like almost a tremor. And I was wondering, we might have been nervous. It was the very top of the interview. It's a big platform, so that could have easily been in. I've been in those shoes before where I've unexpectedly found myself nervous and I'm like, a little shaky about it.
Right now,
but once you start, I didn't see it. At least I didn't notice. I wasn't paying attention too much to it after that. His nose was really close to the mic. So there was like some breathing things going on. If you're wearing headphones, you could really hear it. And even Joe Rogan at one point stopped the interview. It was like, "Is that your breathing?" So that was anyway. That's just those are the little quirky things about the interview. But this quote was very cool, I thought.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And was that something that he was actually asked on the show, or that was a tweet response, or?
No. That was something that Joe Rogan asked him.
I see. So who did that? Somebody basically took all the questions and then tweeted them out?
Yeah. Somebody actually quoted the questions. Cool. I found this on Project Unity, Jay's page. He was posting these out on Twitter about an hour ago, little over an hour ago, and I was like, oh, these are great because I know Mike hasn't seen these, so I figured let's read some quotes and get his opinion specifically because I know you're doing some stuff with the debrief, so that's always good to get your opinion. And Jane's already like FOIA request, so even better. So then the second tweet that we have here is this one. And sorry, it pops up on a different screen. So this one says, and let me take this off so we can see Jane. This one says, "I will tell you, I've never said this before. I've been told by multiple people who have credentials and access that there is some truth to these stories." Roswell, UFO crash, specifically, I think is what he's talking about. So I don't discount this when people say this. I have had people tell me, people that have substantial scientific or military credentials, that they believe it's true. So I encourage people on the Hill to pursue it. They've got a task force right now, and that's looking into this, trying to understand what's happening in these restricted military areas. If you're opening that up, ask all the tough questions. Ask about the military bases and the nuclear weapons. Ask about whether there's anything buried somewhere and there's materials that we have. It's been a long time. I think people can handle it. It's their governments. It's their money. I say go for it. Let's find out the truth. That's Christopher Mellon.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. Like at least in text form, that's a pretty wild statement. Like, he's basically encouraging us to ask questions. So I would assume I definitely know he heard of the big phone home. He didn't endorse it, but he definitely heard of it. I would assume, I don't know, Mikey, maybe this is a huge step, but maybe privately he was like, yeah, that's cool. Who knows? But I mean, what do you think of these comments? Jane, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, go ahead, Jane.
Or Mikey?
Yeah, I mean, before 2017, when UFOs weren't real, it's quite sensational to say that Roswell could have happened. But now, I mean, in my opinion, every single UFO case, from Roswell to Cash Landrum's a great one here in Texas that they brought up on the podcast. Joe Rogan. It was fun here in Texas hearing Joe Rogan learn about that one for the first time. So that was a fun one. I mean, it wasn't a fun one for the witnesses, but you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, all of those cases have to be revisited. All that we really know about Roswell is they definitely lied about it. And there were projects that came before Project Blue Book that started pretty much right when Roswell happened is when all the official secrecy that's now been declassified happened. So I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, and I mean, just the fact that he's out there speaking the way he's speaking, and I think the fact that he got a global stage today, a platform to really bring this to light and let people know that he is somebody that is very professional and was in the government for as long as he was. I haven't seen the actual interview today, so I'm really curious what other nuggets came out of that and what he knows.
Man, there's a lot. I honestly, I didn't get to finish the whole thing because there was 2 interviews that he dropped today. The other one was on a YouTube, a very small YouTube, very small. Who the hell am I to say something like that? But it was, he's got 200 subscribers, but I think the reason why he got the interview is because he personally knows Christopher Mellon. Almost, I think it was a family connection, if I remember correctly from the top of the interview. That's how they explained it. And he's also a military person. And Christopher Mellon tweeted it out today. It was the first thing he tweeted. I think it was the only thing he tweeted today. He didn't even tweet about the Joe Rogan interview because he knows everyone's going to know about that one. So he wanted, it seems like he wanted to show some love to this guy. I just want to get his name real quick. Let's
get him above 200 subscribers.
Yeah, no, it's a great interview. So his name is Terry Virts, Terry Virts, and I'm gonna open up the link and I'll throw it in the chat for you guys.
Terry Virts.
Terry Virts, yeah. It's a pretty great interview because he's a military guy asking some really good questions.
Was he on Rogan?
No, I don't think. Maybe I don't think so.
There's a Terry Virts who was on Rogan 4 months ago.
I mean, it's
astronaut.
possible.
Is he an astronaut?
I don't remember him saying.
Maybe it's a different astronaut.
Yeah,
Commander Terry Virts.
Yeah, I don't. I think he was. I think he was a pilot, but I don't think he was a.
Oh no, this is the guy. He's an astronaut.
Is it the same guy? Okay, well there you go. There you go. Terry Virts, an astronaut. I've got more subscribers than an astronaut. Yeah. Well, I subscribe to him. I'm ringing the bell right now.
I'm ringing the bell too. Boom. Boom.
But that's cool. Yeah. I guess I just missed that because I was also like working while I was listening to the interview. So I was loosely listening. But, again, I got to go back. That's why we're talking about this on Friday. So,
I love astronauts who are interested in this topic. That always gives me a little. I always like. Okay.
There's many. There's a long list of quotes, and I mean Edgar Mitchell obviously is the late Edgar Mitchell is the most known disclosure advocate. But it's
right. What did he know?
Really
what are some of his public quotes? Do you remember?
Oh, he had some great ones. I don't know them off the top of my head. Yeah. He just definitely believed that UFOs were real and visiting, and he was active. He had, what was the name of his? I think it's still around. A parapsychology institute. So I think a cool story with him is when he was in space, he'd do these like psychic experiments like in his head because he had theories about that. So yeah, he was interested in all of that. And there's a really great episode of Frasier, and why can't I think of the astronaut? This is horrible. There's an astronaut that guest starred, and I did a YouTube video about it, and of course won't get any money from it because the studio claimed copyright, but they let me still have it out there, which maybe John Glenn, I don't know, some astronaut. So he's like a guest. He's playing himself, and he's on the radio show. And he just says everything that we know now, that we saw some strange things in space, and we couldn't talk about it, and it's not that far off from the sci-fi movies. And so it's a pretty straight lined disclosure in my opinion, but you have this comedy laugh track behind it, right? And so it's kind of like a joke within a joke. And I imagine any other astronauts watching that episode would have felt differently than, let's say, your average Joe or Jane watching it, just laughing along with the comedy track. So yeah, that's
interesting. I wonder if the writer knew that when he wrote the joke.
That's I feel like some person on that staff.
Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't shock me. Writers are quirky people, like a writer's room especially.
Gone down the rabbit hole.
Would not shock me if one of them in the writer's room was like, hey, do you know he actually saw a UFO? And everybody would be like, yeah, bullshit, and then they would look it up and then they'd find it and it was like, oh, okay, that's a great joke. Because nobody's ever going to actually believe it. Exactly. Writers do stuff like that all the time. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what do you guys want to do? Do you want to hear another Christopher Mellon quote, or do you want to move on to Skinwalker?
Let's do it. Let's melon it up.
Okay, all right.
I'm really curious. I mean, again, I didn't get to see this, and I'm really
it's a great one. I confess I've been doing a lot of the YouTube clips and not the Spotify lately. Sorry, Joe Rogan. I'm just such a I'm always in YouTube.
Same here. Yeah.
Well, Spotify has video. It has the video interview.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't. I don't know. It's a habit.
It's hard to rewind on Spotify. Yeah. Because it doesn't have like a 30-second option to go back or a 15-second option.
There's no comments. I'm always reading comments.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, so let's pop this one up. Okay. So this one says there's some other video evidence out there. There's some video that we haven't released that I have seen. I've seen a few of them, and until the Defense Department releases it, I can't say too much about it, even though it's not classified, but they haven't released it yet. But I will say that there are some more videos like the ones that have been released that they have been authenticated. So, that I also found very interesting,
Yeah, and as May continues to heat up, I'm almost wondering when these things will just start to drip out. If we're going to see more drips,
miraculous May.
Yeah, it's just very bizarre, and I don't know if there's any method to the madness. We asked, or you asked Green Street the other day if there was a method to the madness. He's basically like, we don't want to get scooped.
Yeah.
If somebody else is releasing it, we're going to release something we're working on because we don't want to get scooped. And there's not this like really methodical approach to this idea of soft disclosure. A lot of us will really like to conspiracy theorize about how, media and news and movies and music and all these things are connected in some sort of way. And maybe they are.
The writers of Frasier.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like me.
Salads and scrambled
McGowan had a mouth. I guess McGowan's posting his own mouth offs now on YouTube.
By the way,
and I love them. Okay, so McGowan put up a mouth off
does he call him McGowan mouth offs?
I hope he should. He should.
He better be.
He should. Okay, so. That way people know it's okay if he posts it and it's wrong, he can go back and correct it because it's just, it's just fun. But he was a little upset because he was upset that Christopher Mellon did not know about drone systems that have, in some cases, 48-hour, 72-hour, close to 180-something hour flight times, depending on the design and what they're meant to do. And in some cases carry very big payloads as well. And he's right. Like, that's a legitimate question. And that's why I think of Joe Rogan, when he does these interviews, he should have like a McGowan or somebody go,
Jamie's not a ufologist.
Yeah. Rogan doesn't do a lick of research when he does any interviews. He shows up with a blank piece of paper, and the guy does zero research, and that's fine. That's his style.
I can kind of understand that because that's honestly. Look, here's what happened. I tried to plan out an interview. In the interview I tried to plan out, and I thought I had some great questions. And I ended up bringing up some of those great questions with Lou Elizondo. But I planned out all these questions in a certain order. And we were supposed to have a certain amount of time. And then he came up and you could tell as soon as he came up, he was exhausted. He's like, hey, I can't remember, but can you tell me quickly how much time I promised you? I was like, an hour and a half. And he's like, is it cool if we knock it back to an hour? I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And then now I had to scramble in my notes, like what to ask him instead of just tossing the notes and go, you know what, let's just freeform this and have a good time. So from that aspect, I can understand, but he's got the resources to have somebody sitting there going, wait a second.
Yeah, I think he doesn't. I think
and you will soon, Luis. Hit those super chats.
Yeah. Hit those super chats, and maybe we can convince Rogan to get somebody a little more fact checky on his show.
I don't think he likes that idea because he likes this idea of a one-on-one going back and forth and just letting the conversation unfold over time. But the problem is, if you're missing facts, if you're missing like gaping holes in your research and your data, then you could have had a great interview, but it skews off to like something long and boring as opposed to something really well thought out. And And so I'm of two minds. I think, long form is fantastic, but I think if you bring a certain amount of research to the table, you're able to, you're not staring at the paper, but you have enough information to be able to guide the conversation so that you can get the most out of it for your audience. And that's how I try to approach an interview like that.
Right. No, and that's you make some great points there. I will say, though, I think there is a way for him to do this without somebody sitting in the room interrupting him. Just like he's a comedian on stage with a red light that tells him his time is running out, he's also got, you could put a red light in the room that nobody could see on camera. And when that light goes off, he knows, okay, somebody's got to correct me on something I just said. And then maybe a producer pops in and says, hey, by the way, there are these drones that have these flight capabilities, and curious to know why you maybe wouldn't know about those, Mr. Mellon. Mm-hmm. So that way, there's a check to it, and without interrupting the flow of that wonderful conversation,
Right. Right. I mean, but at the same time, if you look at like Mellon, like what, we can't just expect him to know everything. Like the guy is,
3 hours. Yeah. It was 3 hours. So you're going to get little things wrong. Like I'm not a drone expert. I only recently learned that the Mars rover had a drone. That blew me away. I had an idea. But he did talk about the Phoenix lights being in the 80s, and they were using that as an example of, this couldn't be advanced drones, right? And that was 1997, so it's late 90s. Yeah. And then just a really other tiny thing is he thought the Cache Landrum incident, I guess, happened in West Texas, and it happened way over in East Texas. Super nitpicky.
Yeah.
But there were little things like that. Yeah, and I'm sure there was more, if that's just what I found.
For sure there is more. And we're going to get into all of those on Friday. Jane, can you come hang Friday or no?
TBD, I'd love to.
Okay. If you can, cool. If you can, cool, because we'd love to have you in the conversation when we go deep on these really interviews. Because I think you have notes.
Bunch of notes.
Yeah, I know you do. Okay, so real quick, Mellon did have a quote about Mick West, and it was pretty badass. And Joe Rogan also kind of backed him up on it, and it wasn't very nice. I'll just say that we're gonna go into that comment. But by the way, we're gonna have Mick West on the show, and we're gonna have him with a guy who, look, this guy messaged me personally. He's like, hey, by the way, it was very cryptic. I had no idea who he was. He first writes me, he goes, I'm going to have a video up in 2 hours you may be interested in, explaining how, for a casual audience, Underwood could not have captured an aircraft on his FLIR by utilizing a simulator, walking the audience through the F-18's capabilities. This video was tweeted out. I think I was one of the first ones. I didn't pay attention to this personal message at first because I was like, it was just so, that's first message out of the bat. I'm like, okay. And then I looked him up and I'm like, don't know who this dude is. But I'm following him because at some point he said something nice about me. So I just sat and waited. He posted it this morning, and it is awesome. It is a wonderful explanation of the radar systems and why what they were looking at through that FLIR radar was not what Mick West is suggesting. And so I was like, well, let's get Mick West and this guy on the show.
And
they
that's
agreed.
Exciting. That's
they agreed.
Exciting,
this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. And the biggest issue that Mellon had with Christopher West was that Mick West, was that Mick West had almost a disdain for these servicemen and women that are really trained very well on these highly, advanced, sophisticated weapons and radar systems that they go through thousands and thousands of hours through. And he kind of just dismisses it as they don't know what they're talking about. Like they're just mistaken. And sure, people are prone to mistakes, but not like this. Like, I think if it was a jet plume or something that was part of something very explainable, they wouldn't be coming out and talking about it. And they would have realized very quickly after that very short snippet of video we get of the Tic Tac zooming off. And, you know, you've seen his explanation where he's like, could have been a jet doing this. It's like, come on, dude. Like, why would they say anything if it was a jet doing that maneuver that you just compared it to? Like, it's so silly. So anyway, we're going to have Mick on. We're going to have Alpha Check on. And I think it's going to be an insanely great conversation. And this is not like a Mick West bashing party. You know, we're going to have this conversation because it needs to be had. And maybe we could get West to be like, okay, it's possible that I'm wrong. Like, I just want him to say that it's possible he could have it wrong. That's the goal.
I mean, to honestly, like, I don't even care about that. What I care about, what I'm excited about, the fact that you got both of them, and I had an opportunity. I watched like 3/4 of that video today on like 1.5 speed in between client meetings, and I was just like trying to hurry it up. And I know the exact video you're talking about, and he made some damn good points. And I want to hear what Mick West's rebuttal is to those points. And somebody in the chat just said Mick West is going to come out guns blazing. But I'm really excited because this is the stuff I care about. I want the details focused on. I want to hear both sides of the argument, as opposed to, you know, just this rhetoric, ad hominem attacks on people's character. It's like,
through Twitter.
Get out of here with that shit.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. I started seeing that happening, and I'm like, no. Let me see if I can beat everyone to the punch on this. And it worked. It worked. So we're going to have him on the show. I don't have a date yet, so we're waiting on a date. I want to say we're about to get into the Skinwalker Ranch review, so I'm sorry. It's taken a half hour to get here, but just chill. We usually do 2-hour shows. It's cool. Just relax. I wanted to say thank you, Alien Girl, for this $5 dono in the chat. Yay! Keep up the search for the truth, Jane, Mike, and Luis. They are among us. They are among us. And then we also had another super chat in the room from Jack Ryan. Love you guys.
Jack Ryan.
Please look into Michael Schratt. He's an aerospace historian, well known in the UFO world. He'd be great on your show. Jane, do you know Michael Schratt?
I don't.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm even more of a voting for that. That sounds interesting.
That does sound interesting. I dig that a lot. Yeah, well, let me write that down so I don't forget. You got it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I got it.
Well, okay, you got it. Then I won't write it down. We could come back to that. I would love to have an astronaut
historian,
or not an astronaut. He's an aerospace historian. But damn, dude, yeah,
it might be somebody good to have on that show as well.
Yeah, that could be fun. That could definitely be fun. But anyway, guys, thank you.
Mick West on that one too. That would be a fun conversation. Mick West is kind of like the Jake Paul of ufology. I think he just loves it, and I think the more kind of ridiculous the explanations are, I think he's like, wow, I can't believe I thought of that. Like,
yeah,
I think he's fun.
I think he's a blast. I honestly say it all the time. I think if you take Mick West as what he kind of does a lot of times, which I think he might be a little guilty of trolling us, but that doesn't mean I don't like him. I just think he's got a very dry, witty sense of humor, and he knows what he's doing when he's putting these explanations out. In some cases,
in some cases, skin, my bro.
Very, very thick skin. Very thick skin, and you got to tip your hat to that. And also, in some cases, he's right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He's right. So,
Andy said it in the chat as well. Like, it's so critical to engage both sides of your brain. You gotta engage the creative, and you gotta engage the rational, reasoning, logical, and begin to break the stuff down. And that's why I'm so excited, Louis. I mean, what a great idea. What a great interview that's going to be.
Dude, I cannot wait. I'm just waiting on Alpha to give me a date, and it's on. It is on. So, yeah, I'm glad you guys are here for it. Okay, so let's get into why we're here. The Skinwalker Ranch review, and Jazz should be popping up hopefully in a few minutes. So I got notes. Okay. Notes. So I guess I'll kick it off.
Please do. I got an ice cold bucket of water back here, so why don't you start?
How many gallons is that bucket? Okay, so before we start, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about the entire show, and we're also going to give it a rating at the end. So 1 to 10, okay? How strongly you recommend checking out the show, versus, maybe you wouldn't recommend the show, and we could do this on an episode by episode basis. Okay. So remind me to make sure we do that, because sometimes I forget to do the reviews. Okay. So right off the bat, it's very cinematic, very dramatic. The music is intense, okay? This is the biggest show on the History Channel right now. It's their #1 rated show. So I always love when productions sneak in advertisements, and that red Jeep Wrangler is just like such a huge sore thumb to me. I'm like, advertisement! That's the first thing. All right. that was number one. I was like, okay, so who's in the Jeep? And it's Dr. Travis Taylor, the good old Dr. Taylor. And so, the one thing that I always find fascinating to be reminded of is that this place is 512 acres. So that's also a very good reason why they have multiple security people to secure this property, because that's a massive space of land. Like I can't even almost fathom it. That's so big. What are your thoughts? Jane, I'll start with you. How did you feel about the very first couple shots of the show? Did it get you in the mood to watch it? Like, were you excited?
Exactly what I want when I'm watching a History Channel show. Yeah, I don't care what you find. Make it as dramatic and exciting as you possibly can. That's why I'm tuning in, right? So I'm all for. I like Ancient Aliens, Yeah. So yeah, I'm all for. It's okay. The drama, bring it on. As far as the substantive content, of it, we will definitely get into that. I definitely
we'll get into it.
Enjoying some of the critiques, but yeah, I mean, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Mikey, your first episode ever.
First episode ever. I had not seen it before, and so I was really. I had no expectations, but I did know that this reality show format, I know what that means, and I know the drama that brings. And I always find it so funny because you think of when you think of the History Channel, if you've never watched the History Channel, you wouldn't expect the reality TV formula to be like,
right?
Have taken over.
It's their bread and butter right now.
It's their bread and butter, and I don't disrespect. I don't disrespect a media outlet that wants to use a formula to get viewers. So I totally get it, and I realize what it is. So I came into it with the right expectations. I think I wasn't expecting. It's like when you're watching any of these treasure hunting ones or whatever, you're not going to get the meat, right? They're setting it up. And so I approached it going, okay, I realized that this is a whole season. This is the first episode of that season. I also heard that it wasn't until the second to last episode of the first season where you really got to the goodies. So I didn't go into it being like, okay, they're going to break something for me. I knew what I was going to get.
All right.
Okay. So go
that's
on.
It? Yeah. No, that's it. That's it.
No, well, no.
I thought you were going to add to that.
Well, so that's I just wanted to lay the context of my expectations. So and just to catch up on the first couple scenes, it was pretty much what I expected. I did think it was pretty cool to be able to watch Brandon Fugal on TV. We got to see him here on the big phone home, so I thought that was cool too.
That was cool. So you're right. The beginning of this show is a word for word ripoff of The Curse of Oak Island. The Curse of Oak Island starts off with, there's an island in Nova Scotia. And this show starts off with, there's a ranch in Utah. It's like it's a formula that they hit dude, it's a well-oiled machine that they got over there. They 100%. Know exactly how to do these things.
And so every single commercial for every other show was exactly the same, the exact same formula.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish they would take a couple chances, especially if it's like, what's going on, Mikey? You got phone calls going off?
Brandon Fugals.
It's Brandon Fugal. He's very upset.
I look
Brandon
really cool,
is furious.
Right?
Brandon is insanely furious. No, so yeah, dude, it's a well-oiled machine, but I wish we'll get to it. We'll get to the review part of it. Okay, so Then they introduce Brandon Fugal. Of course, he has to ride in a helicopter. I mean, it's his ranch, it's his baby, his brother's flying the chopper. What I did notice, and I was actually kind of shocked about, he had no tie. He was going tieless. He was actually kind of loose for the flight, which I found a little like, okay, cool. Brandon's coming in a little cooler this year.
Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed is that we had another person that was in the chopper with Brandon was a person by the name of Dr. Christopher Lee, and he is a radiation oncologist and medical advisor. He's flying into the ranch with him. I find that important because what happens to him, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so he lands the chopper. The team, Brandon gets out. The team is there waiting for him. One of them's got his shotgun, in one hand, holding it out like this, just waiting for him, which, God, it's just so funny, dude. Okay, so they sit down at the table and they start talking about the plan for the season and what they're going to do. And I guess we'll start there. Jane, what were your sort of first thoughts about, this whole entrance and what was going on at the table?
Yeah, well, I think Dr. Travis Taylor, we get a reintroduction to him. And so I actually remember being on a press conference that he was part of when last season was starting out, and him talking about how the question I asked him was like, do you think that Skinwalker Ranch is dangerous? And he said yes. And the specific quote, I think, was, nobody try to sneak onto the ranch. So I think, and he claimed that he had experienced radiation sickness, nightmares, just all kinds of strangeness the last time around. And so that's kind of what I was looking for. Like, does he look similarly scared to, be at the ranch again? And he seems to have the same seriousness going into this and curiosity as he did the first time around, though. But I didn't get the feeling like any mystery had been solved, after season 1, that he was still weird things.
he got blasted with a huge dose of radiation in the first season, which had to be, I think, in one spot surgically removed, where they had to sew him back up. It was pretty nasty stuff. And just to give you a little background, Michael, on Travis Taylor, because I know you're like, who is this guy?
Dude, I thought he was such a toolbox. I'm so sorry.
Okay. No.
He spoke at AlienCon. He's absolutely a talking head. He's a History Channel talking head.
Yeah.
He's got the degree.
Why are you knocking Travis Taylor, man? Okay, listen. He's an aerospace engineer. He's an optical scientist, a science fiction author, and the star of National Geographic's channel, Rocket City Rednecks. So he went to the University of Alabama, if I'm not mistaken.
He knows the History Channel formula.
Yes.
Let's just say that. He knows it well, and he knows what he's doing and, what his role is here on the ranch. That's why I wonder really how dangerous is it? Like that's, if he really does feel it's dangerous to be there, and he's a little, are those scares real? Like that.
That's the
it's
question.
hard to tell, right?
Family. He said he wouldn't take his family there if he had a chance. Like he wouldn't just take students to the ranch. At least in the Q&A from last year, and I don't know if he feels the same way today. So just. If he really believes something serious is going on there, he also probably feels that he owes the History Channel audience that drama, right, to keep people engaged and to follow along with the story. So yeah.
Mikey, okay, go ahead. What do you feel? How do you feel?
I feel exactly the same way. I mean, it was funny because I got my wife to watch it with me, which was no small feat. And so she was actually feeling kind of sick, but she was feeling a little bit better towards, hey, Jazz, she was feeling a little bit better, like because she was actually pretty sick yesterday, and she wasn't talking all day, right? And it wasn't until like halfway through Skinwalker that she started feeling better. And like I knew my wife was back when she started just ripping these guys, like standing in a circle, looking in a fucking hole. Like it was amazing. And she starts ripping them apart.
Oh man,
she's like, they look like the guys who in our neighborhood who are like supposed to be fixing something, but they're paid by the government, so it takes them 12 hours to do anything, and they just stand there and like, yep, and just stare at the hole and spit.
All right, so Jazz, let's catch you up. Michael just went on a.
First, I want to apologize to everybody for being late.
No, don't be sorry.
No, never. Join when you can.
I just got done with a radio interview in St. Louis where they were talking about, guess what? The big phone home.
Oh.
And the DJ actually came out and referenced some big interviews in the last few days and the IG investigation that was announced. He was like, was that part of that? And I was like, dude, I'd love to be able to tell you that it was absolutely part of it, but I think it might have been.
Just say, I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed.
And he scheduled another hit for in June because he said, we want to come back and talk about this before the report comes out. And I was like, okay, so we got some people in different markets around the country that loving the big phone home.
Jazz has been laying, like, if people don't know, Jazz has been laying the groundwork for this for weeks and weeks and weeks. He was on, before the big phone home happened, he was on so many different radio programs, so many different interviews, spreading the word of this. And man, I bet you we got Jimmy Church because of Jazz. I bet you we got like so many people because Jazz was out there talking this up. Well done, Jazz.
Also, I will say this, like somebody after yesterday's show, because you got a little slack in the comment section. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's such a curmudgeon. He's so angry sometimes. It's a little bit of a bummer." And I had to say, Jazz has been doing this for a long time, and a lot of times the rug's been pulled out from under him, and he's just giving us his perspective on all of these times and making sure that we have our expectations set in the right place. Like, so if he wants to be a little bit of a curmudgeon sometimes, I welcome it because I personally love it.
It's in his Twitter profile.
Yeah,
and in my Twitter profile, it actually says curmudgeon.
Well, there you go. There you go.
There's nothing about Jazz that is not completely legitimate and direct.
Yeah, and I love it. I think he's the best.
I am what I am.
Hey, just like Popeye.
We would all float away on the clouds if Jazz wasn't here, right?
Exactly. Exactly. He is the rope that keeps us tied to land.
Yeah, and he also, like, Jazz had his own experiences, and he's convinced. He's one of those, I know what I fucking saw.
Yeah.
Kind of people.
So Jazz, we're in the point of the review. We're doing Skinwalker review, and Brandon Fugal's just landed on the helicopter pad. They're sitting at the table, and what I found most interesting about when they gathered at the table is that they all sat down, they had a conversation, then the topic of digging came up. And it actually, the final decision, and this is where it blows my mind every year. Last year I was like, what is going on? The final decision on whether or not to dig is left up to the security guy.
Right.
Not the scientists or the owner of the ranch even. Like, the owner of the ranch is leaving it up. I mean, he's like...
Or a History Channel producer, and they want to start digging season 3, because that's the first thing I would. And weird things happen when you dig. You start digging immediately, like that.
Right.
That's what my weird things to happen.
Bro, my daughter, I got my daughter to watch it with us too, and she's like, "Wait a second. If weird things happen every time you dig, why would they be digging the whole time?"
Right.
Why were you digging in episode 2 of last season?
Yeah.
You mean I can summon Tic Tacs by putting a hole in the ground? Get me a crane.
I mean, look, let's just say that, and honestly, dude, we can laugh about this all day, but Christopher Mellon and both Lou Elizondo have been to that ranch, and the both of them are like, it's weird, man. And there's a real history here. Okay, but the way they produce this show around this real history is sometimes a little quirky. And it's funny, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it's fun.
Silly, it's fun.
It's silly, it's fun, and with that said, it's like, Dude, at this point, there should be construction crews digging at this ranch by season 2. We should have Mack trucks and Caterpillar. Boil rigs. There should be all sorts of things driving into that ground. Because
Giant nets to catch Tic Tacs as they come out of the ground.
Exactly. If we find any oil, fine, but just get the UFOs down. Start digging.
Yeah. So okay. So it seems like we're all on the same page. Okay, but Jazz, how did you feel about the show up until this point? Like, are you excited to watch it when you watch it? Is it something that you just get? Is it a guilty pleasure? I guess is my question.
No, I don't think it's a guilty pleasure. I like a lot of things about it. I've spoken to Brandon. And I think what they're doing is of value. I think Jane has touched on a really important point about this. What actually happens on the ground and what happens when the material goes back to the cutting room floor at the History Channel, there can be a big gap between those things,
Right.
Because they have a show to produce and they have their own vision of how it's going to be handled. My wife and I just finished watching the first episode. And the thing about the digging, and I will just weigh in quickly and then pass this back off to you guys, even though I just got here. Was I the only one when they said, oh, right over to the west of this Homestead 2 spot, there's this kind of spooky hole in the ground and it's all filled in with like trees and brush and things, but weird things happen there. And I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting, right? And they get out there and it's a hole that doesn't have anything growing in it. It looks like there was a hole there that somebody that was clearing brush went and dumped a bunch of crap in there a few years ago and dried out and died.
Or prior to the episode.
Right. Now they've brought the backhoe out there. They're pulling the stuff out. And I was expecting like the entrance to a cavern. Maybe we'll see like some goblins coming out or something. They pull out enough wood for a medium-sized bonfire. There's a hole that would hold enough water for a relatively modest hot tub. And that's it. It's a hole in the ground. How did you dump that many hundreds of thousands of gallons of water into that hole when the bottom is not even sand? It's like clay. And it all just disappeared. Two answers, and then I'm done. Either they've uncovered a portal where the water is flowing into another dimension. And if one of you had the balls to jump into that hole, you might be in Narnia. The other possibility is you didn't put that much water in that hole. I'm sorry. I'm just,
It was hearsay. We never got it on camera, right?
Right. They didn't show
guy said, I did this, and then it just disappeared.
They did a very scientific bucket test that I saw.
Yeah, it was. It filled a. Was it a 5-gallon bucket?
5-gallon bucket.
And then he did a quick calculation on his iPhone.
In 24 nanoseconds, multiply that by.
Oh, and my phone was invaded by aliens.
Oh, well, no, we haven't even gotten there yet,
That
Jess.
was the only thing.
I have a story. I have a phone story. Let's not forget.
It was in the same segment, and it's like, and iPhones can't be hacked. I was like, really? Tell Jennifer Aniston that. Why do we have pictures of her naked on the beach?
Right.
It's like my wife
How
and
do
I
you
were
know
both
that,
just
Jess?
like, I hear things. I don't look into that, but I hear things.
UFO Dad said season 26 will put it all together.
I'm game.
I'll be here. I will watch this for 26 seasons. Okay, so the dragon approves digging. So thank God, because season 2 is now officially underway. Right, we can finally dig.
Disappearing water to convince everybody to dig.
Oh man. Okay, so
Well,
we get.
they did kick it back to Fugal, and they said, "Fugal, what do you think?"
Yes.
And Dragon says before that, he says, "Well, the reason I was against digging was because Boss said so, and we'll turn it back over to Boss, and Boss turns it back over to Dragon. Well,
right.
Dragon, you're on the ground. What do you think?"
This was all of season 1, was just them going back and forth. Well, boss, it's your decision. It's your ranch. Yes, I know, but your expertise in security is vital in this decision. Just fucking dig. Just dig already, dudes. Come on, man. Like if there's 100 dudes out there, 100 ladies and dudes, let's say 200 ladies and dudes, all right? 100 each, and they're all running construction equipment, they're all doing these things, like that's more people to get eyes on the ranch, to start digging stuff up. More, if things fail at the rate that they say, you would get caterpillars failing all the time. You would get, equipment failures. People would be sucked in the portals. Like, all of these crazy things should happen if that's the case. Like, and if there's 100 people there, man, I would be, do you think that the phenomena would show itself, or really it's almost like a bunch of hippies that tie themselves to a tree, and then the construction team shows up? Like, would they tie themselves to the tree? Would they show themselves to the construction team? Or do you think just the construction team would be able to dig and this wouldn't be...
They'd still pile in the hole together?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it just looked like a bunch of guys staring at a hole. Okay, so let's take ourselves back and look at it from a fun, interesting perspective and not be so cynical for a second.
Right.
So that was actually an interesting idea. Like, I learned a little. I'm trying, Jazz. Allow me to try.
I will too, Michael. I will too.
Okay, cool. All right. So I found it interesting. Actually, the geological guy was talking about how you have underground slopes that could actually go the opposite direction of the surface slope. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I learned something.
Yeah.
So I actually found that to be kind of interesting. And then, when they did the green water experiment, I was like, okay, I get it. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to track where these holes actually go. Okay, that makes sense. Like, if there's something underground that we want to get at or try to figure out. But the question is what? And I was trying to figure out, like, what did I miss in this episode or in the first season that they're trying to figure out what's under, or do they think there's portals underground? Like, what are they actually looking for underground?
They did LiDAR radar, and they found these humps underground. Okay, and what these humps were proposed to be, one was a massive ship by Travis Taylor, possibility. The other one was, it looked like almost a tunnel, like a cave entrance or a tunnel to something. Okay. When they drilled down into it, they didn't come across, obviously, any metal that proves it was a man-made tunnel of any kind, and it seemed like the geology fit what should have been there. So nothing crazy anomalous when they dug with this, And by the way, they also had a shaman pray before they started digging.
Right.
Always need the shaman. So, sorry. So that's sort of the story of that section of the ranch, and that's kind of why they have interest there.
Does anybody know if there were ever any nuclear tests done in that area?
Yes, according to my father, there was not on that area specifically, but very close to it, and that's one of the theories, is that those nuclear winds might have settled on that area and maybe created some sort of pockets of radiation here and there. So I think that was one of the theories as to why. And
when did the Native Americans decide that this was something that was that this area was a problem spiritually?
I think it was pretty much after the war that was there.
This all makes sense, because it's very possible that the Native Americans saw them blasting and bombing nukes, and then we're like, we're never going back there.
I don't think there was that kind of Native American presence there. We're talking the 50s, right, Shaw, with the first nuclear bomb, 40s?
Late 40s, yeah. But I don't want to derail this, but Michael, you were talking about the digging, and Jane, you were the one who brought this up about the excavation, and I wanted to ask you, was I the only one who was watching, well, should I say, were my wife and I the only ones who was watching them dump how many tens of thousands of gallons of water with this really intense, sickly deep green tint that would be able to make that much water turn green? I mean, it's not just like food coloring. It's really intense stuff. And all that water flushed through. And you took out the brush and they started digging. Were we the only ones who looked at the pile of dirt and said, none of this dirt is green?
Yeah.
Jane, am I crazy, or is that kind of curious? Because if it's that powerful of a dye, wouldn't it have made the mud green too?
No, I think you're smarter than me to think about that. I assume it's some weird liquid that somehow only stays in the water, some dye that I don't understand how that would work. That's a very valid point.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Jane, to cut you off. It seems like they definitely dumped a ton of water in there. It was really hard to say how much. I would say it was close to like what Jazz said, bigger, definitely bigger or close to a hot tub. And, they've used this dye trick on the Curse of Oak Island. This experiment has been done on another show.
There should be some treasure down there.
Yeah, it actually worked. Like, it actually ended up popping out on another part of the island that gave them actually some pretty decent information. So I don't know if it sticks to dirt, though. I don't remember it coming up on shore, lapping up on shore like an oil spill. It was almost just something that kind of goes away, and I wonder if it almost even disintegrates when it can't. If it's hitting dirt, it's gotta be absorbed.
Anonymous Rex says tracker dye is non-invasive and clings to water molecules.
There you go.
That
makes sense.
Well,
that makes sense.
I thought
maybe
the clay looked porous. I mean, I think that was my biggest thing is like there seemed, I don't know. I don't know how this works, but I imagine just water just seeping into the earth and you're not going to be able to track it. I mean, that was the biggest question mark, I guess, for me.
I bet if you had a bucket, if you took a shovel full of that dirt and you put it in a bucket and then drain that bucket without having the dirt pop out, I bet it would be green. Like if you sift it through whatever, so the sand doesn't.
Live.
Yeah, well, let's do it right now.
You flushed all the water down there, right? So the water's gone mostly, but the mud in the bottom with the clay was
right.
wet. Which
That's
means
what I'm
if
saying.
It's wet. There's still water in it,
right.
And so if the dye sticks to water molecules,
right.
If you have wet mud that had the dye flushed through, it's like. Wouldn't you see a little green or something?
I don't know. I'm no scientist. I think it would be kind of like going to the beach and picking up a scoop of sand and then squeezing it and then the water dripping out. I bet if you had seen that against some light, it would have been a green tint. But sitting there in the sand itself, it would have been hard to see. And plus, like as an experiment, I can understand maybe how that part might have hit the cutting floor in the editing process because it's just there's no reason to show it. But it's a good point. I mean, it's a good point. So the one thing that I brought up earlier was in the helicopter, we had a man by the name of Christopher Lee, who was a radiation oncologist.
Right.
He got right back in the helicopter and left with Brandon Fugal. I have no idea why they brought him on the ranch. Like it was a complete waste of time. Does he come back? Who knows? Like I thought he was going to join the team. Like there's radiation pockets on the ranch.
Did you guys listen to the interview with Fugal with Ryan Sprague?
I listened to some of it. I didn't get through the whole thing.
Yeah. When Fugal was on there, he mentioned there was at least one person, and I don't remember if it was Lee. My wife and I were talking about this because we listened to the interview together. Excuse me. And he said there were people that were brought in, and they had some experience that might not even show up in the show, where something happened after they were part of it and ready to go, and they turned around and were like, nope, hard nope, I'm out of here. And they just left. And I was wondering if Lee was that person or one of a couple of people, because Brandon mentioned that there was stuff that doesn't even show up in the show, didn't get caught on camera, but they got brought onto the ranch, and then whatever it was, something happened to them, and they were like, hey, thanks for inviting me. You don't have to pay me. I'm fucking out of here.
If Dr. Lee doesn't come back, we know who that was then. Because it was weird. It was a weird thing. It was just like he barely said anything at the table, and it was also if you go back and watch it again, the camera cuts and the music that were building up to it was almost as if they were trying to set up a fight between Travis Taylor and Dr. Lee. It was a weird edit and with weird music, and I was like, what's going on here? And then he gets on the helicopter and jets off. I'm like, why the hell did they even mention him in this? Like, we didn't need to do it. Like, why? So yeah, we're gonna see. Let's see if Dr. Lee comes back. Okay, so
or if somebody gets a radiation sickness because they dig a hole and you didn't get the test thing in time, and like last season, somebody starts getting weird, symptoms. Then you can fly Lee back in if he wasn't the guy who was like, hard nope, I'm out.
Right.
Maybe he'll come back and then he'll give his expert opinion. Oh, you do.
That's a good point. Maybe the doctor was just touching base, and then he'll be back as needed.
Available when needed.
It would have been nice if they had said that before they threw him back in the chopper and he just left. But sure, I mean, look, I'm willing to give this show as much leash as it wants, because I'll be honest with you, if I could date a television show, it would be this show. So they dig. Okay, they take out the branches. They don't find anything in the bottom. It doesn't even look like there's a cave. It just looks like dirt. So it's very possible that maybe this part of the land just soaks up water very well. That could also be the thing. Who knows?
I'm sorry, no.
No?
Well, I'm sure there's underground. Yeah, I'm sure there's geological formation. I'm sure there's a lot going on under there. I mean, obviously, it didn't seem like they found where the water went, and there's like a million possibilities. There's literally an infinite number of possibilities.
I mean,
with the editing, you're right. But they made it look like they pumped. Somebody go get the number for me. It was at a minimum tens of thousands of gallons of water.
Yes.
Into a hole that was, as I said, literally the size of a hot tub. Even if that was sand underneath there, sand will absorb water. Not that fast. Yeah. Now maybe they edited, but they were certainly. Am I misremembering? They made it sound like they said 15 minutes later, the water's gone. I seem to remember them saying 15 minutes. Tens of thousands of gallons of water into a hole the size of a hot tub with clay in the bottom and no sign of a visible hole that it could run out of, despite a whole bunch of digging. It's either really bad editing or I don't know.
Really bad digging.
This was one of the parts of the show that I had the biggest problem with was the water. Sorry.
Well, somebody is yelling in the chat, it's a desert! Which is a good point, but there's a river that runs through this property, and it's 512 acres. So, I mean, it could just be a cavern underneath that part. I just found it weird that, why didn't they show they could have done a time-lapse of the water draining.
Right. I'd have been totally on board. That
would have been cool to see. It's like things like that where I think they could really, just make the science part of it a little better, Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, the only thing, the only science I got out of it was the geologist talking to them and talking about how water can flow underground, and it's not the same as the surface.
Right.
Yeah, they're like, could there be portals down there? Well, maybe.
The geologist is like, there's portals down there, bro.
Portal, Jane. That's what I said. That's what it was. A portal opened up. The water flushed through it. It closed. Next big book comes out.
I can't prove that's not what happened.
Yeah, he's a PhD at Georgia Southern University.
I love this dragon. No digging. But the dragon has changed his tune a little bit, I think, because at this point production's like, look, we have to, this show ain't gonna survive with us not digging for another season. That is for sure. So Dragon decides to do so. Let's see, you guys want to talk about how this guy's cell phone goes off and goes crazy, which, by the way, when I looked at it, I was like, man, there's a lot of cracks in that phone. There could be, there could just be the phone wigging out. I've had a phone wig out on me before.
The phone has never wigged out outside of Skinwalker Ranch. He said that, bro.
Yeah, I know.
There was a shot before the phone was broken.
There was.
To be fair.
This did happen last year to him on his phone.
But it's the same phone.
Right. It's like, dude, maybe get a new phone.
Broke, Jane, last time?
I do have to share a really crazy, though similar story, because I've been through exactly what he's been through, and I actually do still wonder about it and think it's kind of weird and wonder. And now my phone was broken at the time. I had these screen issues, but I still don't understand. So it was basically like somebody else was just on my phone. clicking. It was doing all this stuff, and it opened up my Facebook, went into like the album cover, like the not album cover. I wish which like the cover photo, and like went through my photos on my phone and changed the cover photo to these pictures of cupcakes that my mother-in-law had made for me. Wow. And I just kept it because it was a cool cover photo. And
where were you when this happened?
So I was just at home, like, how long ago would this have been? Yeah, I wasn't at Skinwalker Ranch. I wasn't anywhere where it was
you were in Area 51.
And yeah, so there shouldn't have been, but it was totally weird. And I did eventually get a new phone, and I mean, that didn't happen again, but like, so weird. And I still think about it. It wasn't like a normal glitch. And so I could see how that would have been freaky for him and everything. But that said, my phone was broken when that happened. That his phone appeared to be broken, quite a bit shattered.
Was there any synchronicity, Jane, at the same time? Like, what did that happen concurrent with anything else weird you were investigating, or just strange stuff going on, or was it just like, what the hell happened to my phone?
It was what the hell happened to my phone. But I'm always researching UFOs and
that's true.
Weird things. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely think every car that drives by my house is, trying to, if I wanted to go, so I don't ever let my brain go places like that. So yeah, I wish I could go back in time and like watch that event again now, having seen this latest episode, because it was real. But the cupcakes are real cute. It was a good decision. So
here's the issue. And Anonymous Rex says this happens all the time. I worked for Geek Squad as a kid.
Oh, there you go.
Not to say Anonymous is right, but this is it's a golden opportunity for a great experiment on the ranch. Oh, Caleb Phones keeps going crazy. Well, let's put Caleb's SIM chip in another phone and see if it does it again. Like if it does it with a brand new phone, then you could go, okay, something's weird about that. But it's just it's a cracked screen on a phone that he's clearly dropped a bunch of times. like it's like, dude, we can't look at this and take this seriously, is my point. Like that
was the only thing you could even slightly take seriously in the whole episode. Right. Then nothing else.
Last time on it.
I mean,
Michael's a real skeptic, isn't he, Michael?
Man, Michael is just he hates the show.
Trash the show. I love the show.
I love it too.
Brandon Fugal is doing.
I didn't say I didn't have fun watching it.
Yeah. No, but it's true. Like there are moments where I think they can do a little bit better on the science part of it, so it doesn't seem so hokey. It doesn't seem so like we shouldn't be asking questions of like, how was that edited? Like we should be able to see, give us a time lapse of the thing filling, give us a time lapse of it going down, and then now you've got a timing. Like now you've got a time, so you can take that time and go, okay, it was this many gallons. You can work out the math of it and show us the math. Like these are all really cool steps that I think the show should take advantage of, not just kind of skim over because they want to cut to the dragon going, should we dig? And then Brandon going, it's up to you, guy. And then him going,
all of my friends
watching
who have shows, and there's several of them among my friends, go talk to your producers, hire Luis. You need somebody on staff to go, and he doesn't have to be on site. Just be in the cutting room. Yeah. Be in the review process.
That would be my dream, Jazz. That would be my dream job. Is to sit in these production rooms and go, guys, this isn't holding up. Like, it's good. You're on the right. It's entertaining. The entertainment part, you guys nail it every time. It's the science part. And that's why I always say, that's why I love the Curse of Oak Island, because it is they really stick to the science aspect of the island. They never jump to conclusions. Yeah, sometimes the experiments aren't as great, but at least they try it. They're trying things. With this show, it doesn't seem like they're trying a ton of things, and the things they do try, they don't really measure properly. Like,
I wonder if they explained things, if they did try those things, and like, that's not as fun. Let's just leave that to the mystery. They maybe did all those things we're talking about, like the SIM card and everything, and they're like, well, Nobody wants to hear that. People just
But
want
they
to
do.
focus on the weird phone. You know, I don't.
Oh.
Jane, maybe they did talk to people from the Crest of Oak Island, because we're talking about 2 shows about people digging big holes in the ground. Coincidence? I think not. One of those holes will have a dolphin in it.
That is for sure. That is 100% guaranteed. One of these
Follow
damn
the
holes.
water.
And,
Yeah,
and
follow
that's
the
why
water.
both Jazz and Luis should be consulting on the Skinwalker Ranch.
100%.
Indeed. Well, here's one thing I did notice. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little concerned about the dragon. It looks like he's lost a lot of weight.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what's going on with him. I don't want to
Dude,
put
that's
any
so
rumors
funny,
out there,
'cause I
but
was texting
he
you.
looks a little. He doesn't have the same spark as he did last year. He's not as dude, last year the moments that man had were some of the best moments on television ever recorded. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, I heard before I watched it, you guys told me like the dragon, and then like I've got this expectation of this giant who's like, you shall not dig.
Yeah,
And then I got to the show and I'm like, he's like, I don't know if
Yeah, you
should
can dig.
boss. Yeah, it's like, wait, you guys misrepresented the dragon to me.
As a matter of fact, they changed his title at the beginning of the show. He was head of security, and I think he still is head of security, but then Brandon gave him the title of safety officer. And I was like, what's the difference? Isn't there, I mean, he's still, very much, his job has not changed whatsoever. He's doing the exact same thing.
For the safety thing.
No, Dr. Lee was a radiation oncologist. He was a scientist that. Well, yeah, he was like supposed to be, because they were talking about Travis Taylor getting blasted with radiation last year,
right?
And so I was like, oh, cool, they're gonna bring on a radiation guy so he could be there all the time when they dig and somebody gets blasted with radiation. But then they put his ass back on the chopper and he took off. I was like, what the hell's going on, dude?
And the same guy from the last season is the one over there sticking the radiation meter into the hole every time.
Yes,
it's the same guy. It's like, how's the radiation? Just background, you're fine.
Yeah. But when somebody gets blasted in the face, radiation guy's nowhere to be found. Like, it's like, dude, what is going on? What is going on? Okay, so, goddamn, I love this show. Okay, so I guess let's move on, because we'll take calls here in the last half hour. Let's take the last 15 minutes here to And by the way, we're going to be doing a Clubhouse chat with Chrissy Newton after the show. Michael, you want to talk about that? Plug that real quick? Because that'll be fun.
Absolutely. At 8 p.m. Eastern time, directly after this show, we're going to be meeting with Ralph Blumenthal, who's got a new book called The Believer. He was the New York Times writer who actually broke several of these stories for the New York Times in 2017. He wrote a piece about it in 2020 about UAPs. And then he just recently wrote a book about John Mack, who was a psychiatrist, actually, who spent a lot of time with abductees and who had a very open-minded perception of these folks' experiences and wrote about it. Actually went on Oprah, died a couple years ago. And Ralph Blumenthal, the author or the New York Times writer, just wrote a book called The Believer about Mac. And so we're going to be speaking with him live on Clubhouse in 40 minutes. So if you guys aren't on Clubhouse or aren't following the debrief on Clubhouse, make sure you do that right now.
Yeah, that'll be really fun. Okay, so Jane, let's start with you. What is on a scale 1 to 10? What would you give this show? We could break it down, I guess, into 2 parts. We could give two reviews, I guess.
Yes, I agree. I think we should give 2 reviews.
Yeah.
Okay, there should be like 2 scores. One is, was it entertaining? Is it something that you'd recommend? And then the other one is a rating of factually what you're seeing. Like, how comfortable are you with the things that are being put out as facts?
Yeah.
So 1 to 10.
Yeah. So I heard, Jazz, that a lady in your life watches Bachelor and all that. So I watch all those, by the way. So I'm just keep that in mind, guys, when I give the entertaining I like the reality show formula.
Jane, that's why you're here.
So yeah, I would give it super high. I mean, I think 8 super high because I've definitely seen maybe more entertaining. I think it's going to get more entertaining as the season goes on. So I'm not to a 10 yet, but I think it's going to get there like pretty quickly. As far as facts, I mean, look, we got the mention of a rectangle UFO, but we couldn't really see it.
Right. We didn't even mention that. Oh my God, Jane. Okay, let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
So at the end of the episode, Travis Taylor and some guys are eating burgers. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And
candid.
And it's candid. And it seems like they're picking up all of the footage from security cameras, which, by the way, keep that in mind.
Right.
So Caleb hears something. Caleb's the security guy. He first thing out of the gate is he whips out his gun and he pops on the flashlight, a high intensity flashlight at the end of this weapon. That to me is like, wow. Okay, that's where we're going first, right off the bat. Is that okay? Cool. So Travis then gets behind him. Yeah, Travis gets behind him, and they turn a corner. And Travis then yells, "Oh my God, like, what is that?" And he describes what he saw, and I wrote it down word for word. This way, there's no mistake. He wrote that Travis sees what he describes as, quote, an unmistakable rectangular-shaped object that was glimmering or shimmering, and then the thing just instantly vanished. And he also described it as yellow and goldish in color, and it was rectangular. When they go to that area, they can't find any footprints. There's no animal prints, anything like that. And, you know, at this point, it's a cell phone, like Travis is documenting this through his cell phone because none of the filming crew is there. Mm-hmm. What I found interesting was they also had a security camera, what looked like up the hill, looking down on where they were at, and I don't know the angles of this, but it seems like, wouldn't have that security camera caught this rectangular glimmering thing?
Never.
I'm sure you're being sarcastic when you say that. At least I have a feeling. Okay, all right, good. All right. So like that was like I was like, oh my God, no, you did not do this. What did you guys feel about that moment? Mike, I'll go to you first.
The moment, or you want my scores?
No, let's go to that moment real quick, and then we'll go back to your score. Jane was in the middle of hers, but then she brought that up, and I totally forgot about that part. And it was the end of the show. It was like a biggest moment. So it
Jane,
was.
Aren't you tired of having people mansplaining on here? You just got cut off after your score. You know?
No, that's not what happened here. Jesus, yeah, it always started drama. This ain't the History Channel, pal. Get that stuff out of here. Michael, what did you think of that moment?
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how I missed that, but I missed it.
Well, that says a lot, right?
I missed that moment. I don't. Maybe I went to the bathroom. I don't know. I did.
It was the very end of the show. Jazz, you saw it. What did you think?
The part you didn't mention, and my wife and I debated this just a couple hours ago.
Yeah,
was they included a very short clip from the cell phone video where it did look like there was a light leaving a trail just for a couple of seconds that went across. I watched that, and I will reveal something about my background. I did take a couple of continuing adult education classes about 20 years ago on filmmaking, and I bought some software, and I used to do some stuff with film. And I was like, you know what? I had a tool in the early 2000s where I could have made that. You know, it didn't look terribly believable.
Yeah.
Maybe it was supposed to be like an artist's recreation of the light shooting across for a second, but it was so fast that it didn't provide any data. And as far as that whole segment goes, I thought it was an interesting sounding description of somebody seeing something. But I agree with you, Luis. It's like, well, you had other camera angles. Nobody caught anything.
Right. It's always the case with these things. The camera is never pointing there. It's like you got.
Are you doing a documentary, or are you doing an entertainment show?
Right.
But I think that should be made clear. If that wasn't actual data, if that was a recreation, then just say at the bottom of the screen, recreation. Then I'm totally fine with that.
I wondered the same thing. Yeah, it was kind of just awkwardly put in there, and when Travis Taylor's talking about the sighting, they don't show that. They just show the crappy camera angle. So yeah, I thought the same thing. I don't even think there was a date or anything.
Yeah.
So it could have been any security camera footage, and it could have been it looked kind of more like a shooting star to me, which would still be coincidental timing. But yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, it was the way they pitched it. It was like, just another security camera, and at the exact same time, this light went and then disappeared. I agreed. I thought at first I was like, that could easily be a shooting star, just like you said. I did find it weird how it was going, vertically across the screen. Usually a star will sort of look like it's coming down, but who knows? Depending on how it bounced off the atmosphere, that could be anything. Yeah, it's the moment of the show where they go, okay, we're at about a 4 right now. We need to take this to 11. And so that way people come back to next week, and they're like, well, let's see if we can get some more information on that moment. And then we get to next week and they completely just blow by it. They never even mentioned it again. But we'll see. Let's see what happens next week. Okay, so Jane, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut off your
you're
review.
good. I'm glad.
Yeah, glad we talked about it. I'm glad you brought it up. And so you gave the entertainment aspect of it, the fun aspect of it, an 8. Now,
an 8,
how about
really high for me? And
yes.
I used to review movies like way back in the day too. So I definitely try to be critical, I guess. But I think there were some fun nuggets. And the other thing too is the twig snap that they heard in the area, and he sensed that somebody was watching them, and I did. So there were some fun nuggets that kind of makes it go up in the facts. So I just want to justify. But I did. There was a night in 1997, so Phoenix Lights year. There was apparently reports of humanoids in the woods, spying on people. So you've got this Bigfoot humanoid UFO sighting thing, which is kind of fun. So I thought there were some fun nuggets that I feel like I can put it at I don't know, maybe a 4.5, because I feel like we've laid some groundwork. We've got some interesting questions that could reveal some more substantive things in future episodes. I think I'm hopeful that some of these stories will go somewhere. Maybe we'll hear more about the rectangle. I will say Travis Taylor in the Q&A last year, when I asked him if the UFOs, over Skinwalker Ranch reminded him of other more documented sightings, and he did say that they reminded him of the Tic Tac UFO, which is not quite rectangle, but disc, cigar shaped, however you want to put it. So yeah, I thought there was some fun groundwork. Yeah, so it makes I want to see more. I want to learn more.
Okay, cool. Jazz, how about you?
What did you give the score?
She gave us an 8 for the entertainment aspect of it, and then she gave us a 4.5. Was it
4.5?
4.5, for the sort of the science aspect of it. So I mean, if we combine those together, it was probably somewhere around, what would we say, fair to say, a 5, just under 5, like a 4.7, 4.6, 4.7.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So Jazz, same question. How did you feel about both aspects of the show? If you could rate them 1 to 10.
Sure, I will. And I will say in advance that I think I'm a little bit prejudiced because I listen to so many interviews when I'm not working. It's like this absorbs my life, not this specific thing, but the topic in general. And I've listened to a bunch of interviews with Brandon. I'm trying to set one up myself coming up pretty soon. And a lot of people that are involved in the show. And I think there's been a lot of information about Skinwalker Ranch that I have found very compelling. Everybody's always waiting for more hard data and things like that. And I think that sort of biases me in favor of wanting to, I really want, this to be a good thing. Yeah. So that I think that might tilt my ratings up a little bit.
Okay.
I would say that the entertainment value, I'm going to go at least as high as Jane. And as my wife and I were watching it, I would say I would definitely give it a solid 7.5 or 8
Okay.
for entertainment value. Sadly, a bunch of the entertainment value was when we were laughing about them dumping 10,000 gallons of water with dye into it and something all the size of a hot tub. But that was entertaining too. So that was, it was entertaining. I liked the interviews, the actual action that they're recording and revealing so far, at least, not so much. So when we come to the information side, I'm probably a little more of a hard ass than Jane.
Mm-hmm.
On that side, I would give it maybe a 3.5.
Okay,
But I do not. That does not mean I find the show without value. It absolutely does not mean that I won't keep watching it. I absolutely will, and maybe there's more good stuff to come. But what they delivered this time was either not a lot of information, or it was produced and developed and delivered in such a ham-handed fashion that even people who would be inclined to go, "Oh, that makes sense to me," they just had so many missteps. It was like, really, So that's my take. I think I would balance out maybe somewhere in the range of a 4.5.
4.5. Okay, that's fair.
And I'm going to keep watching. I don't want anybody to take that as this show is garbage.
Well, no.
It's
Well,
just,
listen,
we have questions.
this is constructive criticism. We're not saying this because we hate the show. We like the show. Well, I mean, we're going to get to Michael. Let's see if Michael likes the show. But
well, no, Michael's going to give it a 2 and a 1.
Well, I mean, we'll see.
So,
we'll see.
Michael needs to watch every episode of this season.
No, for sure. Well, he has to. He's part of this show. It's kind of his job now. Because he's got to be here to talk about it. But okay, so Michael, let's just get into it. I want to hear what your score is. Go for it, buddy.
All right. All right. So I did learn some interesting geology in this episode. So I appreciated that. So from that perspective, I gave it a 2 on the facts. So that's not too far behind you guys. I think you guys gave it a 4, right?
4.5.
So I'm not a complete asshole here. Now I did find I could literally go out into my neighborhood and find a bunch of dudes staring at a hole. And that would be probably not that entertaining for me. So that was a big portion of this show. So I did give it a 4 for entertainment. So that's a 3 overall. But I mean, you guys were at like a 5.5, 6 average. So mine's a 3. But it is what it is.
It's a 4.5. So
yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. That's my take.
That's not too bad. Okay, so that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
History Channel's not going to include that in the promotion for this show.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But hopefully,
we are not getting any advertising money from that show.
No, definitely not. I hope we don't. Brandon's been on our show, and I know that Brandon has a good sense of humor, so I don't think he's going to take anything if he does ever see this personally.
Which he won't.
Look, and let's be honest.
Oh, he will if I get the interview.
No, I don't think so. Well, here's the bottom line.
I'm going to definitely send him the link. So, dude, you got to watch this show because what were you doing with the green dye?
Well, look, Brandon wasn't there for the green dye, and Brandon doesn't edit the show. Neither does the Dragon. Neither does Travis Taylor. So totally these guys, as individuals, they have nothing to do with how the show's produced. They're just there to do what they're asked to do, and how it's shot, how it's edited together. That's not on them. So this is not a personal attack. This is just. We're reviewing the show just like everything else gets reviewed. And
I
hopefully,
agree with Luis, and what he is saying right now is none of the 4 of us are ever going to have a show on the History Channel.
No, definitely not. But maybe we'll take some of these suggestions.
An interview for Ancient Aliens, like back in the day, and let's just say it never aired. So
it never aired. Okay,
yes, I've accepted that.
I gotta hear that story at some point. So
we need a whole separate episode on this. I want to hear this, Jane.
For sure. So with that said, I am going to go from an entertainment factor. I'm going to give it, and I'm basing this score off of last year and how much I really enjoyed last year's show. I'm going to give this one a 7-2 from an entertainment standpoint because I just didn't. It was really just the dragon. I just didn't feel the dragon in this first episode. I sold, and Michael knows me very well. I like to set expectations very, very low. And with the dragon, I pumped the expectations on this guy so high, and I just felt like it almost was like I don't know. There's just something off. There's something off about I feel bad for him. I want to know what's going on. I hope there's nothing personal. I hope he's not in like any
down.
He just seems kind of down. He doesn't seem as fiery as he was last year. So that's why I'm only giving it a 7.2. But who knows? Maybe he comes back and is flaming hot in episode 2. I pray to God he is. So from the science aspect, a 1. Like, it's just not very convincing for me. It is. It's tough. And here's the thing, right? Like, because I think they have opportunities to make it better. And a 1, you can only get better from a 1. You know, you should, like, there are things that you can do to make this a lot more scientific, to make it a little bit more engaging with science and also entertaining. You can do both. It is possible. Just watch this show, and that is a perfect example. Like, we do both, and I think we do it very well. It falls flat for me on the science part, and that's not a knock against the scientists or the people who are trying to run the experiments. There's better ways to record these things, and they're just not doing it. They're missing opportunities. So I mean, you know, I probably would level out about a 3.5, 4. Where last year I was probably like at a 5 or a 6 because the dragon was so good. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Let's see what happens. See, you know, episode 2, maybe we get better science. Maybe we get, you know, the dragon pops up. Who knows? But yeah, I guess that's our final review of that. And if you guys want, we got another 25 minutes. I mean, we could hang out for the whole time, but I'll take some questions. I'll put the chat in the link below. Jane, how you doing on time?
Oh, I'm great. Yeah,
You're good. Okay, cool. So if you want to ask UFO Jane a question,
I'm not good on time, but
yeah.
If anybody from the History Channel is watching, I was totally lying. Call me. It's a 9.5.
It's a 9.5. It's a 9.5. Look, man. Again, I think if anyone's being fair and looking in the mirror at History Channel and listens to this review, I think it's a fair review. Honestly, I don't think we're knocking anybody. I don't think this is mean-spirited. I think it's a fair review. And we want to love this show. That's the thing. And look who popped in. UFO Dad is waiting in the wings.
Okay, because I got to go. So
okay,
let's
Jazz,
let UFO Dad take my spot.
Let's do it.
Thanks, guys. Really
Later,
enjoyed
Jazz.
it.
Yep, see you Friday, Jazz.
Hey, Luis, I do have a little bit of prep work I need to knock out prior to this Blumenthal meeting.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone make sure you guys hop in here, hang out with Luis, and then join us over on Clubhouse. UFO Dad, it's always a pleasure.
Same here.
Make sure you pop over and meet us in Clubhouse for that interview with Ralph Blumenthal.
Yeah, well, I'll be there.
Fantastic.
And usually I get to talk at those things. We'll see.
Oh, you'll be on the stand. You'll be on the stand. Don't plead the fifth. Later, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. See you soon, buddy. See you. Wait. Before you go, Michael, tell everybody where we're going to be tomorrow. Jesus, dude, you almost forgot.
Tomorrow night, we are launching the Singularity Lab Roundtable. So if you have an interest in cutting-edge science, cutting-edge technology, and are very curious about the exponential evolution of AI and where that could put us in the next 20 years, that might be a show you want to catch. So all you got to do is click the link tree below in the description. Click the first link, Singularity Lab. Go subscribe. Hit the bell. We're going live tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm also bringing my lovely wife, Kristen, who will be joining us as well.
I get to meet the wife.
Yes, and we'll have some other guests as well. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be lighthearted, but also we're gonna be chopping up some crazy cutting edge science and technology. So it'll be fun. So join us there.
Awesome, man. Well, I can't wait. Mike's link
We'll be
is in
there.
the description below, so don't miss us tomorrow. Because, like I said, Tuesdays
UFO
and
Dad, man.
Thursdays.
If you're ready, if you want to hop on, man, you're more than welcome. UFO Jane. I mean, it's wide open. Invitation's
It's wide open. Yeah, no, that's what we're doing here. So yeah, so Tuesdays and Thursdays we're gonna be on Michael's show, and then Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays we're gonna be talking UFOs here. So
but don't forget this Sunday.
Sunday Mother's Day special. Mother's Day special. We're gonna be having our moms on the show. It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be
It's
wild.
gonna be awesome.
If y'all were here for the Big Fun Home, my mom was in the chat a little bit, and she is hilarious, and she's a wild Italian. So, and she loves Skinwalker Ranch. So we're gonna have a conversation.
No,
about
it's
that
gonna
as
be
well.
fun. It's gonna be fun. All right, dude. Well, we'll see you tomorrow on the Singularity Lab.
Later. Thanks, guys.
Later, buddy.
Bye-bye.
All right, Dad.
Dude, I've been laughing my ass off since you started talking about Skinwalker.
Yeah.
It's like Mystery Science Theater 3000. I almost choked on an almond. It's crazy.
It's a fun show.
There's two things that I didn't watch it yesterday because I had an issue trying to get History Channel. We got Sling, and I don't use it that often.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll tell you something. I hope they didn't Facebook Live when they dumped all that water in there. The state of Utah owns all the water rights in this state. Hell, you can't even have a cistern collecting rainwater, not that it rains that much, to use for yourself. That's illegal here. Wells, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was not a good idea in the state to do that. But I have no idea. What I can't figure out is why, unless he has some other degree, why in the world would they bring in a radiation oncologist to this setting? I mean, radiation oncologists use radiation to whack cancers. They don't use radiation to whack people. It seems to me that they'd be better off with a nuclear physicist.
I think the reason why they had him, Dad, is because last year somebody got smacked with a dose of radiation.
Correct.
So he could maybe decipher, how quickly somebody reacts to it and sort of how dangerous it is. I mean, it might be useful to have him on there, but I agree. I mean, it's
kind of like a far-fetched thing with regards to medicine. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird. I thought, radiation oncologist, what the hell are they going to do with this guy? But who knows? He may have another degree.
Yeah, well, that's
they may
the one.
introduce
That's
him
the
with that.
one they used when they introduced him in the show. They called him. They was like,
Yeah,
he's a radiation oncologist and I believe they said medical advisor. So that's what he's for the show. But then they put him back on the chopper and he went away when nobody ever heard from him. It was
Did he say anything?
not much. I have to go, but he did say, like, I think he had a couple lines, but then it was something along the lines of, I'm here to make sure people are safe, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate, sort of thing. And then he was gone. So bye. Yeah, it was so weird. And by the way, guys, I'm dropping the stream again, the stream link, the StreamYard link in the chat. If you want to join us here with UFO Dad and UFO Jane, all you got to do is click this link. Just a couple things. Be on a Wi-Fi signal. Don't be naked. And turn down the volume on your YouTube stream. So that way you don't get an echo. Yeah, I mean, show's fun. I love it. I'm going to watch it till the end. I mean, what do you think, Jane? Do you think have you been to the Skinwalker Ranch website that Brandon Fugal always points people to?
Have you been to Skinwalker Ranch?
No. Nobody gets to go there, unfortunately.
You can get close to it, though.
You could get in the valley for sure.
Like if you spent the night in either Ballard or Roosevelt, which is Roosevelt is man, that is a small town.
Yeah.
It's like 2 blocks, I think. If you spent the night there, you could watch the night skies. I mean, that's as close as I would get to that place.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the radiation aspect definitely spooks me out a little bit. Yeah, and I could see maybe that's why they don't have a lot of people there, like you were talking about earlier, Luis, because that's a lot of liabilities. You probably have to have everybody on that ranch agree, I'm okay with getting radiation sickness. I mean, that's. I
guarantee you can find some volunteers. I bet you can find easily 100
sure.
volunteers that would sign that just to get on the ranch.
Yeah.
You want me what? Yeah, I'm actually a construction worker. I can run any piece of equipment you want. Just get me on there.
Have you guys, and maybe UFO Dad sounds like you know the area, have you heard of Moonshadow Ranch? It's
Never.
apparently, there you can't find anything at it. There's like rumors about another area just right around Skinwalker Ranch that's maybe there where there's even more paranormal activity, perhaps. And I would love if anybody in the chat has ever heard of it. You can only find just kind of vague references to it, like on Reddit. And all I could find is there's like some LLC like businesses kind of named that like right in that Skinwalker Ranch zone. So
interesting.
I can try to dig out that information. I mean, Skinwalker's not that far from me. You know, I can find out. The next town over from there is Vernal, and Vernal,
it's near there.
Yeah, Vernal is near there, and that's where they have the dinosaur museum, and they got digs going on there all the time. And Vernal is not that far away. It really isn't. It's about, I don't know, I would say maybe 20 minutes or so. But Moonshadow, that name doesn't ring a bell.
Those LLC like those companies were right around Vernal, and then you have these separate reports of this like they're trying to keep it on the DL,
right?
Like the locals, this like second Skinwalker Ranch.
I know the people at the Vernal Brewery. Next time I go down there, I'll ask them because they're all local from there. I mean, nobody goes to Vernal to work. It's way the hell out there. The closest big town to that is Colorado Springs, Steamboat Springs in Colorado, just over the border, because Vernal is right on the border of Colorado and Utah. So nobody, and it's still a distance to get to Steamboat. So I'll ask. I mean, the next time I go down there, those would be the best people to ask because, you know, they work in a brewery. They're not going to, if they know about it, they'll tell you, you know.
Yeah. Hey, Jane, have you ever seen or heard Brandon Fugal talk about the Skinwalker Ranch website? I was looking for it now, but I'm producing a show, so I can't find it. But have you ever been to it? Because he talks about how there's data on the website that is related to the ranch, right? Have you heard about this?
I'm trying to pull it up now and see if it's like, I mean, I've been down the rabbit hole, you know, not recently.
Well, it's probably been about 3 months since I've gone to the website, and when you go to the website, there's no data on there at all. It's just kind of like bios and things that I think there's a couple of documents on the website that from the past talking about the ranch, but there's no new data from the experiments that they ran in season 1 whatsoever. And so I was wondering if you'd seen that website, because that's just another thing that I think they should update to get people a little bit more interested in the science part of this.
Yeah.
Like they ran all these experiments.
Answer some of those editing questions, you know?
Yeah. Dad, you don't see a website?
No, I don't see a website.
I'll find it. I couldn't find it right now. I went to Brandon Fugal's.
It's not on the wiki page, and the first thing is obviously History Channel.
Yeah.
About the show.
I wonder if they took it down.
YouTube.
I wonder if they took it down. I mean, I'll find it.
If you can find the URL, you can put in archive.org, and if it was popular enough, you can, turn the hand.
Yeah, well, I think Fugal. I got to go back through Fugal's text. I'm pretty sure he sent out the link in there before, and that's how I looked at it. And then when I looked at it, I'm like, man, there's really no data on here. It's kind of empty, if I'm being honest. So, it'd be cool to see, the experiments from last year updated on there, but I can't, I'm only speculating right now because I haven't been to the website in 2 or 3 months. So maybe we'll talk about it next show. I'll find it. But yeah, okay. So, we put the link out there, you guys. Does anybody want to call in and ask any questions? What'd you guys think about Skinwalker Ranch? You have any questions for UFO
Travis
Dad?
Has a question here.
Yeah, Travis has a question here for Dad. I was going to read it. So Travis asks, Dad, UFO Dad, are there uranium mines in Utah near Skinwalker?
Here's the thing. I don't know that there are any mines in Utah where they're actively mining that. However, in Wyoming, there is uranium. So that's what I told Lewis the first time that they say they found radiation. I said, that's like right across the street from Wyoming. I said, maybe they have, they also have uranium in Utah, but I don't know of any uranium mines there. What they do have out there are oil wells, and that's the big thing in Vernal. You got a lot of roughnecks. When you go into Vernal, the first thing you're going to see is motels everywhere. And I'm like, why do people come here? And then I found out that they have a lot of roughnecks that come from the Dakotas and all that to work in the oil wells in the Vernal area. But as far as uranium mines, I don't know of any. But there is uranium in Wyoming, so it would make sense to say that there's probably uranium here, but they're not mining it that I'm aware of. But that's a good question. But yeah,
isn't the company, the official company, Adamantium Holdings or something, is the name of the company that technically owns like Skinwalker Ranch, right? And I think that's a Marvel. Fictional...
Adamantium is the
adamantium.
metal. It's the metal that is made up that makes up Wolverine's claws.
Yeah, so I think that that's like a little Easter egg of the people working on Skinwalker Ranch. So yeah, maybe there's some secret mining.
There's a lot of stuff with that ranch that are just weird. The people who've owned it, the people who own it now, there's a lot of questions about them. Like they're private people. They're a little mysterious. But that's what kind of makes the show fun, you know, like the mystery of the people in the ranch, and that's what makes it entertaining. But yeah, so Pop, do you have any closing thoughts on Skinwalker Ranch?
Well, I'm gonna try to watch it tonight. Right now, I'm on archive.org to see if they have a website. I had never heard of archive.org. That's pretty interesting.
Well, Dad, do you have it?
Helpful with the UFO cover-up.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay, it's skinwalkerranch.org.
There you go. I was using .com.
Yeah, I should have guessed that one.
We'll check that out. We'll check that out. The Dad, send me that link in Twitter, and I'll make sure we look at it the next time we're doing the review next Wednesday. What was I gonna say? Yeah, Dad, do you have any closing thoughts? You want to plug Blue Marlin?
Oh, you want me to plug it in? Yeah,
give us some.
If you need some saltwater big game fishing gear, I'm the guy to connect with at BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle.
Since 1995.
Since 1995.
There you go, Pop. Yeah. You don't even know your own advertisement. All right, I love you, Pop. We'll see you soon.
All right, take care, guys. Good being with you.
Bye. UFO Jane. I'm so happy we hooked up. So happy you finally got you on the show. Doors open for you, my lady. Anytime you want to join these conversations, you know what we do in the chat. So join us anytime. I thought your perspective was a lot of fun. I can't wait for you and Cristina to get together and talk about the Skinwalker show, because she loves this.
Yeah, she's gonna join Cristina Gomez.
Yeah.
She's gonna join. I'm gonna do a live stream toward the end of the month.
Awesome.
Yeah, so a women UFOs live stream. So I'll be, teasing that soon. But it'll be really fun.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get the two of you on the show and just mucking it up with us Neanderthals. So UFO Jane, I've included all of your links in the description below, but would you like to go ahead and tell folks where they can find your stuff?
Yeah, UFO Jane, you can just search it on YouTube, and I'm on Instagram, Twitter. So yeah, you should be able to search that, and obviously it's very helpful, as Luis knows, to subscribe and all that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate every like, every subscribe. It means a lot. So
oh my god, it helps us creators so much when you guys like there are so many ways to support a YouTuber or a podcaster. If there are ads, watch them. I know it sucks, but it helps the person that you're consuming their content. Like the channel, subscribe, ring the bell. Those are all things you can do for free that don't cost anything, that help us with the algorithms, that help more people see our content. I know somebody in here that I blocked from the chat was bitching about go do the research about the mines. This isn't a research show. I'm not a researcher. I'm an actor. I just like talking about this topic, and we review shows on this show. So we do all sorts of things. I don't have time I'll bring the researchers on the show. That's what I like to do. And if we can find a researcher that knows about uranium mines in Utah, then we'll bring them on. Please do me a favor. Direct them to my Linktree in the description below. You can make an appointment to be on the show. You can donate to the Patreon, which, by the way, the person who donates 0 to the Patreon gets the exact same access as the person who has the guts, which is the $500,000 Patreon. So doesn't matter how much you pay, you get the exact same address. And I meant to, damn, that's one thing I forgot to do. Next show, I'll do that. I'm going to give out a shout out to all of the Patreon subscribers. All of you guys that shouted out. I'm going to shout out your names on the next show. I got to write that down, make sure I don't forget it. But UFO Jane, thank you so much for coming by, stopping by, getting weird with us, and helping us review the first episode of the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch on History Channel, which is, by the way, on Tuesday nights. I believe it's 10/9 Central, right? On History Channel. I'm pretty sure that's usually the time frame they do those things. Yeah, that sounds right. Tuesday nights, 10/9 Central, History Channel. Go check it out. I've got all of everyone's links in the description below. Until next time, you guys. We'll see ya. I'll keep the music playing for a little while, and yeah, don't forget to check out the Clubhouse. We're gonna go do some Clubhouse to talk some UFOs with Ralph Blumenthal there.
And just remember what Dr. Travis Taylor said.
Yeah.
Nobody try to sneak onto the ranch. So we'll watch it safely from home.
There you go. All right, UFO Jane. We'll see you next. Also, guys, just want to say thank you for all of the support that you guys have been throwing in, the super chats, the $5, the dollars, the euros, the czars. You guys are honestly helping me do this full time. Like, it's not even a joke anymore. Like, all of that love that you guys are sharing, I love you guys for it. Just wanted to give you that shout out again. Thank you guys so much. Like, seriously. This channel's nothing without you. Share it more, talk about it more, invite more people. That's the best thing you can do for the channel. Also, don't forget to check out the www.Big Phone Home website. Remember, the Big Phone Home is not a day, it's a state of mind. Use that call list to get in touch with your senators, your congressmen, and as we now know, we can start maybe reaching out to the Department of Energy, thanks to Christopher Mellon's comments today. There are a lot of things happening. There are a lot of ways that we can all help without spending money. I get it. Times are tough. The economy's back, coming back, growing again, and people are getting back to work. So, don't ever feel pressured on this show to donate money. But the ones that do, man, I cannot appreciate you guys enough. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I love you. And for the people who can't donate and share the shit out of the show and talk about the show and activate themselves on a political level, I love you just